the initial comms project had quite a significantly large
Hang
scope.
on, you don't have these guys' attention.
Guys, please.
Never start talking till you got them all.
Okay, so our project was comms. It was a very, very large overall document with lots of things to cover. So we've paired it back into what we feel are some key aspects. Number one, we start off, we've got something to present to everybody to actually give them a feeling of walking in the other, in this case, a branch manager's shoes. Give them the feeling of overwhelming lack of control, having to go to too many different places to get information. So we've taken a little bit out of Vision 2020 because it just happened to work for us. We've gone partway through the project and Vision 2020 came out. So we've taken branch manager as king. It's all about upskilling the branch manager and improving his communication. So from there, we've got our scope. 19 subjects, 19 recommendations were put forward. We felt that was too many. So we pared that down to 3 that relate to each other. From there, we've gone through and we've done the history. What the other guys did, we validated all their information. Partway through, we had to back away and come back because of GPC. Were we in the right place? Were we talking to the right people? Were we actually getting to where we needed to? Then we went through and researched the whole project again and made sure that we're actually still on target. Number one, are the key stakeholders like Roger, like Paul, are we still doing what they want? Have they changed their minds? Have they still got the same thoughts? We also looked at what's realistic, what can we deliver and what can't we deliver in a reasonable time frame within the project time. We also said, is it scalable? One of the things is we're looking to roll it out just in IIS to start and just in a small area. From there, grow it through IIS and grow it out through the group. So the concept itself starts off as a sales concept, but it could go to finance, it could be going to inventory, it could go to HR, it could go to a number of places. Then the culture, we looked at what the current culture is and how people feel they're treated and what would they like to see if they were treated in a different way. What's important to them? And one of the key things that came through this whole process is what's in it for me? If we tell someone to do something, are they actually going to go and do it? Or do they need to be cajoled? Is there a reason why they're going to do it? Is there something worthwhile for them as a tangible outcome that's going to motivate them to keep on doing it? Can we evolve that culture? We've got to start small and grow it. And I don't think we can necessarily take the whole thing on in one foul swoop and achieve what we want to achieve. So we're going to do little small building blocks and keep on growing through. So finance and costing, there's not a lot of money to be had to support the project. So we've said, how much is it going to cost us to do it? In reality, if we're using internal processes and internal resources, how much money is it going to cost? Is it realistic? Can we actually get it over the line given what we've got with resources? Then we looked at the tools. One of the number of things, a lot of the dashboards, sales dashboards, the guys get the information, but they have to go to too many different places to get it. So we've gone to one simple, single dashboard. They open up their SharePoint page, bang, it's in their face every time. And there's a whole lot of hyperlinks off that, taking them off to different areas that are probably of interest for them, they could use all the time, but driving them back to SharePoint is a real important thing. One of the big things that came out is people don't really know how to use SharePoint. They don't know how to drive SharePoint. So we've got all these neat tools, but people don't know how to drive them. So driving everybody into our SharePoint homepage that's got their sales data on board means they get more comfortable with it, they'll start learning, hopefully they'll get to use the tool a little bit more. From there, I've already said one-stop shop. Active Directory, it means when someone moves a branch and the maintenance is done properly, they'll get their new branches or their new operations information. So they don't have to think about it, it's something that should be done in the background for them. It's automatic. We saw the dashboard linking to the whiteboard because at the moment guys sit down and have meetings, they talk about things, but they don't record anything. They're not accountable. There's no dates, who, what, where, when. So we saw those two linked together. So we're going to do a rough production board as a trial, be it whiteboard, be it something, we don't really care, we're just going to get it out there. And we're going to trial it in 6 branches. So we're going to have a bit of a different bit in New Zealand, some in Australia, and say, did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? Are we on the right path?
Is that trial going to be done? Are you presenting evidence of the trial in your presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I guess I missed one of the most important things here is we keep on going back to Roger, we keep on going back to Paul, we keep on going back to, I think it's Steve?
Yeah.
So we're continually saying, are we on the right track? Are we doing the right thing? Have you changed your mind? Has the outcome changed? So we keep on linking back to here. So the people that are there, we've already got a fair bit of credibility because they're kind of part of the decision-making process. We picked Paul Connolly as our sponsor because he's got the most to lose on this. If it doesn't work out, it's his world. So that enables us to get some resources and drive behind it as well. Review process, after we've done it, did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? If we got it wrong, come back, do it again until we've kind of refined it reasonably well. From there, the learnings. How do people do it? Teach them how to drive it, teach them how to do it properly, do a good video and a crap video. How to have a good meeting, how to have a poor meeting. And ask the guys, what's your meeting like? Are you having the good one, the crap one, or you put in the middle? And just try and upskill and move them forward. After there, regional sales managers or regional managers, they are the big people that drive this. They're going to be responsible for its success or demise. So teaching them how to do it and getting them to work with it is the important thing. You guys talked about LMS. The tools could be in there. That way the training and everything's seamless. Same place, no new platforms. Next step, roll it out. After it works in iOS, roll it out to the wider group. Then maybe it'll go to a Webster, it might go to whoever. But it can roll out and then it can be changed from a sales focus, possibly to an HR focus, finance focus, it's the same thing. From there, who, where, how in the group, who's going to be owning it, who's going to be responsible for it. We don't know the answer to that, but it probably needs to be someone senior so it actually gets some traction. Printing the boards, there's a bit of money tied up in the boards, but there's not a lot to be fair. And from there, getting the biomass, making sure it works in all the different systems. We believe it's quite easily portable from a lot of the systems already, so we're not putting something in that's an orphan. Further uses, finance we already talked about. The handover timeline, we own it for a short period of time. Someone else needs to drive it long term. Don't know who those owners are, but again, it needs to be senior members of the business to make it evolve and keep on going. We've been told we're kind of 2 years ahead of where we are right now. So it seems to be something that's available in GPC. All we're doing is emulating something, so when GPC come along, or SAP, or whoever, we've got something that people are comfortable with. Additional reviews, who says we got it right, who said the next lot of people got it right, review it, evolve it. Then we'll come up with our conclusions, why we went down this track, why we're even doing it, and again, we're doing Vision 2020, branch manager is key, because their role and their thoughts on sales and GP is going to change quite substantially. Right, questions?
Nice.
Very good, thank you. One of the things I wrote down is, I remember well, kind of the state of play and the culture around comms when they did the presentation last year. How does what you found is the current state of the culture in that context compare to what they'd found? Has there been any positive movement, or is it worse, or is it the same? Because this could be a really significant, you know, kind of hammer that you have, depending upon the answer to that.
Well, the learnings we found was that the comms from, or the learnings from the paper were that they needed to get comms down from Roger coming down, and that's been ticked off, and that's a monthly newsletter, that's being consistent, that's ticked off, they're getting good feedback, so that part of the culture and the history, tick off. Below that, it's non-existent.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
that.
and it's not bad about the other group, again, they had no accountability for implementation. I'm just saying, you know, it's kind of interesting if you can cause this particular group that you'll be presenting to understand that in 12 months' time, because like I said, they were sucking wind on some of the stats of people not reading emails and yada yada, and there being a special on and people not knowing it, you know, for months at a time, and therefore not taking advantage of it. Like, they were quite impacted by that. So to now know that 12 months later, that is still happening, that there are still issues or problems, and the more stories you can tell here or examples that you have found in individual cases will be really kind of, I think it will give it a good punch in the sense of causing some sense of, all right, urgency or issue. It's not bad that you went into it. It wasn't the outcome. It was no one's outcome. Well, it's kind of nice to go, what existed then that may took your breath away, being surprised, by the way, is still existing, and the quality, and your bottom line is always going to be impacted by these soft sides in the business around things like communication. You know,
But
so
what also changed with their implementation with the help button is that we found that the world's moved on a bit, and we've got this thing called SharePoint, which is basically a search function anyway.
Yeah.
So people get to learn SharePoint, and all the directories are in there, right? If they need to find a phone number or whoever, they just go into like a Google search on SharePoint and go Stephanie Burns, and she comes up as whatever. So the help button we found was to be, in Roger's words, a bit shallow. So that's why we moved away from that and then moved into doing a whole other project. So
yeah, it's great. It's good.
If you don't mind me butting in,
I'd like it.
and what I'd like to say from myself personally, from both groups, what I see is that you've taken a product that we've installed in the business and made use of it, which is Office 365. And you've both done a great job in integrating that as a part of an overall platform. So that's where also with your group, especially on the other side of the room, our evolution in Office 365 12 months ago wasn't there. It's a lot better now, and you're taking advantage of that going forward. So I think it's good to hear that both groups have looked at a tool that we bought.
Yeah.
Yes, we haven't trained people well enough, and we know that, but you're taking the challenges around those solutions and knitting them all together, which is what from me from a CIO perspective, I'm pleased, and I'm assuming going forward the board's going to be very pleased. We're using internal tools to further enhance our vision and our communication across the group.
See, and that should give both of your groups yet again another hook, meaning at some point, somebody proposed that platform and a yes was said. Yes was said, money was spent, there was investment in it, etc. And so, again, somewhere along the line, that's been an idea that was acted upon to make it available. So now for you to hook into that saying, and now we're adding layers of functionality or of value to the business by utilizing a tool, again, you're not having, it just makes the whole kind of buy-in that much easier. Probably easier than it was to get them to go, into new systems. So remember this is why meeting with your stakeholders and some of the key people involved here, this is the stuff that they give you that is, because when you can say, when Steve said, or, the value Steve saw in this, that gives you that's a lot of influence in there when you're presenting a proposal like this or an idea like this to this particular group. And I think it's a great experience to know that it's oftentimes word of mouth, what you heard, who said what, name dropping, there's those kind of things that hold sway. Because you may not be known to half the people in the room, but everybody knows people who are very well known to the people in the room that they respect. So it brings that up just as an idea there.
And any training that you need rolled out, we can administer that for you.
It's the vehicle for it.
And if you can say you've had conversations with the other team
Happy to help.
Have home hose there. Joe, any thoughts here? With that?
No, I sort of I've got a niggling feeling about time for you guys in terms of how much you're going to present within your time frame, and it might be invalid. I'm not sure. Just have it in the back of your mind that it seems like you could have quite a lot that you want to say and show or demonstrate, and so just be mindful going forward as you start to flush this out. Start really keeping that time that you've got in your mind. Remember, we have only got 40 minutes.
Is it practical or possible that we can have it running in the background while we're doing it? I think you guys were going to
Not
have
if
it
it
running.
splits their attention.
I'm sorry?
Not if it's going to split their attention.
But wouldn't it be best to have their attention on that while you're talking around and take
Yes,
off you?
I agree. If you want to put it up there.
You can stay away from it, have them over there looking at it and walking to the side.
Oh, yeah, but then.
What are you going to be putting up?
Exactly.